there everybody, this is Caitlin here, and welcome to Friday's spoilers for Force of Will, Echoes of the New World. The new spoilers are just out, and we are kind of wandering away, if you could say so. I know that was like a terrible way to try and work in that pun there, but we are here with the Wanderer Brigade, essentially the party that is known as Sun Wukong, Reflect Refrain, Scheherazade, and now this new person who, at first when I saw the artwork of him, I thought it was Sun Wukong himself, and that he just like absorbed some kind of new power, but it's not. We can see that from his ruler here. It is the Swordsman of Fire. We'll find out who he is when we flip over to the other side. He is a fire ruler. He's a Judgment of 4, which is 1 fire and 3 void. He's got fire energized. You may pay the attribute cost of a Wanderer Resonators with will of any attribute. So kind of similar to the light and the dark books, whatever, and their respective kind of archetypes and whatever. Wanderer Resonators you control gain first strike, which is kind of bizarre because I feel like it's been like, it feels like ages away since like a relevant thing had first strike. I think the last thing I remember off the top of my head that had first strike was like the Jean d'Arc from Legacy Lost. But I'm pretty sure that there was at least something from Echoes of the New World that, not Echoes of the New World, I meant Return of the Dragon Emperor that had first strike, but it escapes me right now. But at the bottom here it says, I heard Scheherazade's report, seems I managed to arrive in time. So I'm also loving the artwork here. The artwork is very, very nice. It kind of gives that kind of vibe that like the world is literally ending for Re-Earth, and that these wanderers, whether they're going to be on the side of good or evil, but I feel like they may be more inclined to do evil considering what we're going to see when we flip over here to Dimension Brigade's leader, Adelber or Adelber or Adelber or however you pronounce that. I'm not quite sure if this guy in particular is like he's a kind of like new creation or whether he's based on some kind of myth, because he does look out like he looked really similar to Sun Wukong kind of, or I don't know if it's maybe just the artist style or whatever, because I believe this might be the same artist or at least someone who's worked on Sun Wukong cards before. I'm not too sure, but this guy looks pretty dope. He is a 12/12 Wanderer still. When this card enters your field, you may put a Wanderer Resonator from your hand into your field, so that is pretty neat as well. And then he's got this huge wall of text in terms of other colours of Resonator. So when a light resonator enters your field, you put 2 100/100 counters on this card. When a fire resonator enters your field, this card deals 500 damage to target resonator. Whenever a water resonator enters your field, you draw a card. Whenever a wind resonator enters your field, this card gains flying and barrier until end of turn. And whenever a darkness resonator enters your field, your opponent discards a card. So he's kind of got all those different things, like, you know how back, like, we've still got him, but Adam Brawley, how he has all those different effects depending on what kind of resonators you sacrifice. Well, this guy here has got different abilities that he has whenever different resonators enter the field. So I feel like you kind of maybe want to try and flip him quite early on, at least, so that you're still playing resonators and whatnot. I know he's got like a cost of 4, but he seems really interesting in the fact that you maybe want to try and flip him early so that you can at least maybe try and get all these different effects going off. And he's also got the flavor text at the bottom where it says, time to get serious, reflect, refrain, are you coming? And it's like, is that alright? And it's fine. Really? Really? So I guess this is foreshadowing that reflect, refrain are making the return. Whether or not they're going to be such a broken card or whatever that we've seen them previously, we will just need to wait and see. But the next one we have is a resonator. We have Scheherazade, Speaker of the Yet Unknown Truths. She is a 3-cost quick cast. She's 3 wind and 800 Wanderer. She has Will of Despair, so you can easily run her in either this kind of Wanderer build deck, or you could run her in the Will of Despair, the Book of Darkness deck if you so chose. When this card enters your field, as long as this card is in a field, target resonator cannot attack or block, and its controller cannot play its activate abilities, which is really, really interesting. So as far as I'm aware, this is only when it enters, so like you're not going to be able to like spam this unless you've got some kind of flicker effect going on. But this seems pretty interesting since it's got quick cast. You can play it like, say, on like your opponent's turn to stop them from attacking with something, and then you can make sure that if it had any activate abilities, they can't play or whatever. So that's kind of interesting here. And then at the bottom here, it says, there's nothing written in my story of this future, which means, ... I wonder what this means in particular. I feel like maybe because a lot of these wanderers seem to be Will of Despair, I have a funny inkling that perhaps the Wanderer Brigade, the people who are like in like the realm between and whatnot, they may actually be either siding with Lapis or trying to ensure that he wins, which is kind of scary considering that Scheherazade previously obviously was trying to like save the Earth back in like Grim Cluster and whatnot, or she was at least like trying to aid the battle in some fashion. Next up, we have Sun Wukong, Enforcer for the Future, a 2-cost wind. He's both wonder that. He's 600, 500 Wanderer, Well of Despair. See what I mean? All these Wanderers here that we thought were going to be helping the gang or whatnot in the Light Palace, they're actually going seem to be bad. So he's also got Flying. And when he enters the field, you return a target non-magic stone, non-J resonator card to its owner's hand. So essentially, you can return an addition or a regalia, I believe is what this means. So, like, any kind of addition or any kind of regalia, I feel like. So, by the time Alice Cluster rotates out, this will probably mostly just rely on additions and whatnot. So, I guess you could use it to, like, say, pop the Alice's Mad World. You could do that to get rid of, like, a Windsclear Refuge. You could use it to get rid of, what are some other additions that are quite annoying? Barrier Seal. Barrier Seal is another one, although this one card puts it to their hand, so they can just play it again. It doesn't outright destroy it, which is a little bit of a bummer. But I suppose it's a way to like make sure that your opponent is like going back a turn from setting up. And then at the bottom here is like, all right, we can't sit around anymore. We got to stop this. Where's the boss and the kids? I kind of think it's funny how like they refer to Reflect and Refrain as the kids, even though they are seemingly part of this whole group or whatever. And we don't really know what their powers are, if they have any. Like we've only seen little glimpses of them, and all they seem to have done is just observe and watch things. So we don't know whether Reflect and Refrain actually have any powers to themselves that is like unique to them. But next up, we have a chant. It is another quick cast one. It is Adelbear's Crossflame, and he's looking pretty epic there. It is a 3-cost chant. It is 1 fire and 2 void. This card deals 800 damage to target resonator and each other resonator that shares a name with it. So this is kind of like a different way of working Flame Trap in a sense, because obviously if your opponent is like got like say it's Feasting Turbo Wyber or whatever, they've got lots of little things, like they've got maybe 3 Tamas, or they've got like 2 Gwyn's, or they've got Sacred Elves and all that stuff. You can basically destroy everything that shares a name with it. Or maybe they're using like some kind of fairy swarm deck that, you know, they're using a lot of fairies that have the same name and whatnot. So this is quite good for those decks that you know your opponent is maybe running a full playset of a certain resonator and whatnot. So it's really good to like wipe them out of those cards in particular. And next up we have an addition, the Interdimensional Space, which is a 2-cost, 2 wind. I feel like so far a lot of these Wander ones that work well with Adelbear are wind ones, so I find it really odd how he's a fire ruler, considering that the majority of these Wanderers that we've seen thus far are actually wind resonators, but I digress. You may pay 1 less to do the Judgment of Wanderer J/rulers, which obviously helps Adelbear. You may pay 1 void less to play Wander resonators, which doesn't really help too much with Scheherazade and Sun Wukong, because they are both just green costs, so it doesn't really help with them, sadly. But Wanderer J/resonators you control gain 400, which is also really handy. And I was actually thinking myself when I was like looking back at the ruler when he's flipped over and whatnot, the Wanderer that you can put into the field, you could very easily maybe pick the new Valentina that just got revealed on Tuesday, because she's a Wanderer, she's a heavy cost and whatnot, and that way if you've got like smaller things that have died or whatever at the start of your turn or whatever, you can get them back into the field, and that would be a good way to try and cheat her in, because I believe she's like a 7-odd cost or whatever, and if you had this addition in, you could flip Adelbear for at least 3, so you would be able to get her in, cheat her in because of her cost and whatnot. There are other Wonders obviously that you can use to target and whatnot, but I feel like that's a pretty good one to choose. Next up we have Words of Scheherazade, and oh my gosh, I adore this artwork. I don't know whether this illustrator has been is new or whether they've done something else before, because I don't recognise the art style, but this art style is just so cute and adorable. I love the way they drew Scheherazade, Reflect, Refrain, and even Sun Wukong. They look absolutely adorable and I love it. I hope they maybe do a couple more cards, because this card art is just adorable. It is a 1-cost wind chant. You search your deck for a Wanderer, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So this is kind of handy if you're setting up for flipping your ruler, so you want to find maybe that Valentina, maybe some other kind of big Wanderer card or whatever, so you want to make sure it's in your hand so that when you flip over, you don't have to worry about not having it in hand to play it and whatnot. And then at the bottom it's like, the words of wonders can be heard by others like them from any distance. So I wonder if this means that the Wanderers like Valentina, Lapis, Priscia now, because she's technically also a Wanderer as well. I wonder if they are able to kind of hear the Wanderer or the Dimension Brigade, whatever we're going to call these guys and whatnot. I wonder if they can hear them or whatever in the winds or something like that. That'd be actually kind of interesting. And then speaking of winds, the last card we have here is a quick cast chant called Severing Winds, featuring, I believe that's Adelbear, because that's not Sun Wukong, with Reflect and Refrain. It is a 4-cost quick cast, 2 wind and 2 void. If your opponent opponent played 2 or more cards this turn, you may pay basically nothing to pay this card, and you cancel a target spell. So if essentially this is brilliant on your opponent's turn, where say they're setting up or whatever, like they've played 2 resonators in the hopes that they're going to play a Gwyber, you can just say, you know what, I don't have to pay anything for this card, thanks to you playing those cards, I'm cancelling that Gwyber. And that would be absolutely amazing, because it just says target spell, so it doesn't say it has to be like a chant, it doesn't say or anything, because resonators upon casting do kind of count as like a spell, because they're being like cast from hand and whatnot. So this is a really good card. I can see this being really, really useful in like the new meta and whatnot. I feel like this is quite a good card, especially with all these like decks. Like Fleecing Turbo is still pretty relevant, I feel like. And obviously Persia Beastmaster is also one, so if they're playing cards and whatnot to set up for, say, Spinning Myths and all this stuff, then this is a brilliant, brilliant card. I absolutely love it. I would definitely have this in, like, a side deck, depending on, obviously, what kind of deck you're going up against. You don't want to really be using this against something that's, like, Control, where they're maybe not playing as many cards as you like on their turn. So this is actually a brilliant card, at least for sideboard and whatnot. But anyway, guys, this has been my thoughts on these spoilers. Let me know down below what you think of the Wanderer Brigade, the Dimensional Brigade, whatever we're calling these guys. Do you think that they are on the side of good, on the side of evil? A couple of them do have the Will of Despair, so it leans me to suggest that they are actually going to be working either with or trying to ensure that Lapis wins. During this time, I'm actually travelling down to Birmingham for the Force of Will Birmingham Grand Prix. So you will see me vlogging and whatnot, and I'll try to post Twitter updates and whatnot. So if you're interested in how our journey is going, be sure to follow me on there in the description below. My Twitter and all those social media things are in there. Until next time, guys, I will see you all later.